Greetings YouTube, David Avocado Wolfe here at the Arctic Circle. I've always been interested in farming and in learning more about the secrets of growth. And years ago I read Philip Callahan's book, Paramagnetism, and he talked about the stone towers of Ireland. Amazing research in that book. So that's attracted me not only to stone towers, but also all my life to stone temples and to Stonehenges. Curious if there's effects on the vegetation growing around these interesting monuments. This one here is in Iceland. So we're at the very far north of Iceland at the Arctic Circle where this enclosure has been constructed. Take a look at this. Take a look at what's going on here. I'm going to take you over here. What's this? Is there an effect from stacking rocks like this, especially this level of weight? Well, one of the great effects of it is that nothing's going to move this monument. You're going to need humans to come in here with machines to wreck it, or maybe humans with lots of tools and even lots of people to wreck it at some point in the future if civilization collapses. But one of the things I can say for sure is that I've stacked rocks for 20 years on one of my farms, many different kinds of rocks. And this is what I've learned, and so I wanted to share that with you, is that if I just took rock like this is all volcanic rock, basalt rock from this region. This is all volcanic. So it's very difficult in this region to get dissimilar elements, oppositely charged elements. Real way to know that you have oppositely charged elements is just the color. That's just the simplest, most natural Neolithic thing you can do, is that if you have red rocks and blue rocks, those are going to be dissimilar. They're going to be different in their composition, and together they create a charge. For example, when water's flowing through it, or air's flowing through it, or dirt's flowing through it, you're going to have a different charge, and that's going to be good for growth. And this is one of the reasons why we take oppositely charged minerals like zinc and copper. It's one of the reasons why we revere silver and gold. They're oppositely charged. Well, one of the things that I learned in creating henges myself in cairns and stacking rocks is that if you put, for example, dissimilar elements up here, the henge or the rock cairn is going to be more powerful. And even more powerful than that is when you're going to stack inside here. So you can see how many rocks are stacked up here, probably 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 up to the top. But down here below, if this was a giant crystal, you're putting pressure on the crystal. You're creating a piezoelectric current. So I've done that for years and stacked rocks on top of natural crystals from the environment, typically quartz intrusions into granite. And that's what's available on one of my farms. And something happens. There's something powerful about it. Now, you might recall that the whole idea of the radio dial and the spring on the dial, it puts pressure on a crystal, and that's what creates the different frequencies that you tune into with your radio. That's how radios began, actually. So it's a piezoelectric pressure that's created by putting that pressure on a crystal. And you could do that with a henge like this. If that rock right there was a crystal, we'd be creating something really interesting here. Now, that's not around in this environment because there's no quartz intrusions into an environment like this volcanic region. This is too fresh and volcanic. However, that's just one of the things I've learned, and it has a very peculiar effect on the environment. Remember that if you are setting this up and putting crystals in here, so there's pressure on those crystals and it's creating a current, there is a liquid, a fluid, the air itself that's flowing through all of this, it's being affected by that piezoelectric current. This is also true underwater. Years ago, I met a gentleman who'd done research on water, and he found when you put a crystal under pressure in water, that all of the bacteria are immediately wiped out of that water, purifies the water. And I've done that actually in my water in one of my farms for years. I put the crystals under pressure, and the water must flow through that, and we get a really incredible water that flows out of that. But this is also true with other mediums. And of course, the air itself is a medium. So if you're into cairns, if you're into stone temples, if you're into raising up rocks, try it out. Now, imagine this. Imagine we have this right here stacked up. We've got crystals in here stacked up, and then we wrap the whole thing in copper. I bet you we'd create some pretty interesting electroculture. So that's the technique that is, I think, forthcoming with all this interest in electroculture. Those are my thoughts here at the Arctic Circle. David Avocado Wolfe. Have the best day ever.